Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman!
I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm vengeance.
Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Please visit our website, holybatcast.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things Holy BatCast. You can also find us all over the internet on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast and you will find us. And if you love the show, you want to help support the show, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big ol' hug and a kiss to all you patrons who make our lives that much easier. Thank you. It means the world to us, and we really do appreciate it. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you are looking for other shows to enjoy, you can check those out at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Maybe don't follow me on Twitter right now. Maybe wait a month. Like everyone in the country, I mean, I'm not even in the country, but I'm a little fired up right now, so I might want to avoid my Twitter for a few weeks. But in a few weeks, maybe I'll settle down. You can follow it then. Anyway, this episode, what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about the animated short film, interactive short film, Batman, Death in the Family. So, joining me for that is my Bat brother from down under. He's back. It's Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
Just like Jason Todd, I am back from the dead.
Oh my God. Can I just choose how you come back from the dead and see what happens?
You can always choose how I come back from the dead.
Oh my God. You're making me blush. Well, welcome back, Brendan. How's the new home? You took a few weeks off because you've been moving. You got your new pad, which is exciting. So congrats again on the home. Are you all moved in? Does it feel like home now?
Thank you. It's starting to feel more like home. I think because we haven't been back to the other place now for a couple of weeks. We had the keys for this place for about 2 and a bit weeks before we moved in, so we were back and forward a bit, but this was kind of the place that we'd come to do some stuff and then go home. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then when we sort of moved in here and we stopped going back to the other place, we've been here almost a month. We moved in on the 10th of the 10th of October. It's now the 6th of November. For the first couple of weeks, it really did, and I've never moved like this before. Where it's sort of all out by a certain date. Like I moved out of home down to Brisbane, to the place that Jess and I were renting, but it was more of a gradual move, whereas this was like bang, it's done, you're out. And this is also like the old place we were in was kind of an old place. Like it was nice, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say quote unquote fancy, but this is a really nice like modern townhouse. It's some nice luxuries that we didn't have at the old place. And the first few weeks Jess and I, we just sort of be sitting around and we'd go like, I can't believe, like, do we live here? Like this doesn't feel, how did we do this? And then it also felt like we're on holidays in a really nice like apartment townhouse sort of thing, but just with all our own shit.
Yeah, right. I'm sure.
It was a really weird feeling, but it's starting to feel more like home. I'm in the. I've got an office at this place because obviously I'm still working from home. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm sitting now, and it's it's really cool. Like I'm surrounded by my Batman collectibles sort of all around me and all my other cool pop culture stuff, and I still haven't finished setting the office up in terms of hanging stuff on the walls and everything, but it's very me, let's put it that way.
That's
I think
great.
I posted a photo
you definitely sent me photos.
I think somebody mentioned something about me moving or something, and I did post a photo of like the office area on Twitter, but it's very me, let's put it that way.
That's good. I love that. I remember, you sent me some photos, and like you have your Batman shelves, and like each shelf is dedicated to a different era. So I love that. So you have like a Batman 66 / animation shelf. You have a Tim Burton Batman shelf. You have a Schumacher Batman shelf. You have a Dark Knight Trilogy Batman shelf. And I was like, I love that they're lumped together by era. That makes me happy. You have like the BVS DCEU version shelf too.
Yeah, I've got like a whole Batman the Animated Series shelf. Like, yeah, that makes me happy. Actually, I speaking of Batman stuff, I did send you a photo before. I promised myself and Jess that I would not buy any Christmas shirts this year because I've only got 4 weeks to wear them.
Right.
And I've got quite a few. And we had to go into the city this afternoon. I had a chiropractor appointment and Jess had to do a couple of things. And I looked at Zing, which is our pop culture chain. Mm-hmm. And they have released a Batman the Animated Series Christmas shirt, which I immediately purchased. So I tried, but I mean, I'm not going to not buy a Batman the Animated Series shirt, no matter what the occasion. But yeah, I had to get it. So
yeah. I support it, as well you should. Guess what I did? So you'll be proud of me. Because I finally pulled the trigger on something I've been meaning to do for 2 years now. So I pre-ordered all the DC Funko Christmas pops. So did you see all those?
Yes.
And they're awesome. And so I ordered them.
Yes.
They're all getting shipped to China, so that way I can put them out for Christmas here while I'm still in China. But there are some exclusives, right? So there's like the 6 that are just the standards, and it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Joker, Harley, Flash. I think.
Yes.
And so those are coming. But then there's 3 exclusives. There's like an Ice Batman and a Penguin Snowman from Hot Topic. And then there is a Jack Frost Joker from Target. And so I went online. I was like, well, I need them all. Obviously, Christmas, DC, of course I'm going to get them all. So I go to Hot Topic and to get the exclusives. And I order them. And then I realize they have all the other Funko Pops from the Schumacher films that I have been meaning to get and just keep not buying. And they were on sale and I was like, okay, what the hell, might as well. So I finally bought the Batman Forever Batman. I bought Riddler, I bought Two-Face, and then I bought Mr. Freeze, I bought the Clooney Batman, and I bought the Poison Ivy. So I finally pulled the trigger on the Schumacher Pops. So there we go, check, they're done.
I still haven't got Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy. I have to admit, this year I did show some restraint, obviously, with the house and everything on stuff that I'd normally go out and buy.
Yeah.
But I did put that out there as a Christmas gift option. I sort of told Jess a little while ago, I said, look, I'm not going to buy these for myself. I would like them to because again, I'm a completist. I want them for my Schumacher shelf.
Of course.
So I said, look, if you want to get if you want to tell someone to get me these for Christmas, that'd be fantastic. I was thinking the other day, they have still not released a Robin.
I know, that's crazy, right? There should be Batman Forever Robin, there should be Batman and Robin, and Batman and Robin Batgirl.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very bizarre. And it's not like they need a likeness or anything, because they don't look anything like the people.
Sure.
They're just a Funko Pop version.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I want a Batman Returns Batman, because they released Penguin and Catwoman, and I got those for my birthday, and they're awesome, but they go with the Batman 89 Batman because they didn't release a Batman Returns Batman, and the suit is different enough. I think it's worth it.
The suit's very different,
yeah.
Actually.
And I'm sure they could give him some little prop, if the Batman Forever one's got the Riddler envelope, the Batman Returns one can have a bowl of Vichyssoise.
I was just checking. Batman 89's got the Batarang. The Batman Returns one can have the bomb that he blows up the clown with.
See, that's cool too. He could have the programmable Batarang.
He could. You know what? I'd even buy a Max Shrek Pop if they released one.
Oh my god, don't get me started. You know I would buy that in a second. I'd buy a Chip Shrek Pop.
I will say, though, Mr. Mayor, do you take your Pops out of the boxes?
Yes.
Okay, just be wary of the Two-Face one, because I have had this problem with some Pops, because the scarred side of him has the big hair and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's he's heavier on one side, and I had to blue tack him to the stand. Like, he won't stand up on his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you mentioning
just
that.
be wary.
Yeah, it's good to know. Well, and I think Catwoman has, it's not the same issue, but a similar issue just because her legs are so skinny.
Yeah, she does stand up though, but yeah, Two-Face is a real son of a bitch.
Okay, good to know. Noted. So anyway, point is, I was wasting money on Funko Pops, but I finally completed my Schumacher Funko Pop collection, at least until they release Robin and Batgirl.
Yeah. Which again, I'll buy. Like, the Batman Forever Robin would look fantastic as a Funko Pop.
Yeah. Come on. Seems like a no-brainer. They'll get around to it, I'm sure.
It really does.
Yeah. But, yep. Fun. Looking forward to Christmas. I'll tell you, spoilers, I didn't get you the Pops for Christmas. Sorry.
That's all right. I haven't got them myself either. I have, again, that's something I've put on my wish list for people. I sent that to my brother's girlfriend the other day because she was bugging me about what I want for Christmas, and I couldn't think of anything. And then a couple of days later, I said to Jess, I'm like, actually, they could get me because one of the stores over here is selling them as a bundle, and it's cheaper than buying them individually. It's like, they could get me those. Like,
that's a perfect, easy gift, yeah, and it's not that expensive.
Yeah, I'd only display them, 5 weeks out of a year, but I still really
I don't care. They're so cool. Like, I look forward to owning them and bringing them out every year until I die.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're really nice.
And that's why when I saw the exclusives, I was like, do I really need the exclusive? Yeah, of course I do.
I didn't realize they were exclusives because I saw the Penguin Snowman one at the shop I was at today.
Well, it might be different in Australia. Here it's a Hot Topic exclusive.
Yeah. I might have to grab him individually then.
Yeah. But I warned Catherine. I'm like, yeah, don't buy me any of those because I just bought them all for myself. So, all right.
Excellent.
Fun. Anyway, well, I'm glad you got the new house. I'm glad to have you back. Gave you the month off. I hope you enjoyed your October. I hope you enjoyed your Halloween. You and Jamie both left me for Halloween.
Not prioritizing you, I recall you saying in one of the episodes.
Right.
We didn't make you our priority.
You didn't. That's okay. There are other people who found time for me. Ryan Lauer. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for being there for me when no one else would be. Michael Lyons. Thank you for being there for me at this special time of year when other people wouldn't be.
I have to actually be honest. I still haven't listened to the Detective 1027 episode because I haven't had a chance to sit down and read the comic yet.
Yeah. I missed you guys, but I get it. Life gets in the way. And, like we took last week off, so I should acknowledge that. Is like, last week,
your fault.
It was a very busy week last week with Halloween and everything. And so, at a certain point, you just got to call it and go, you know what? And we tried. Like, we tried to reschedule, and then it just wasn't happening. And I think you were like, you can just take the week off. You don't have to do it. I'm like...
I was like, well, you dropped 2 this week. Like, it's okay to take... It was Sunday afternoon, and you'd had a big Halloween party the night before, and I don't know if you want to talk about it on the show and toot your own horn, but you may have had a major life event happen on Halloween night.
Yeah, that's true. It was a very eventful Halloween. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a secret. At least, I mean, many of the listeners, at least see stuff on social media. But yeah, it was not just a Halloween party. It was a Halloween party that became an engagement party.
Yes.
So,
Catherine, she broke my heart and stole you away from me.
I'm sorry. But I mean, to be fair, Jess already stole you away. So what was I going to do? Just wait for you?
Well, that's what I was hoping.
Okay, well. We'll still always have our fishing trips in the mountains.
Yes, we will.
But yes, it was exciting weekend. Very exciting weekend. So, it was, I mean, with that and Halloween, and like then on Sunday, a friend was like, come over, I'm cooking brunch. And it was like, great, we'll go over for brunch. And like so much food. And then it became very long because we were all just hanging out and having a blast. And I was like, I still haven't watched The Darn Death in the Family. And so it just wasn't going to happen. And I hope all the people out there will forgive me for taking the week off. But it's Halloween weekend and everything else. So I thank you for your understanding.
What are they going to do? Complain for this free show that
That's
you give
true.
them every week?
They want their money back, and I don't blame them.
Yeah. You can tell that we haven't recorded together in a month because we're just like talking shit for 20 minutes now.
I know. We're catching up. We're so sorry, folks. We really did watch some Batman stuff to talk about. But, I mean, this is all somewhat Batman related. At least the pops are. So that's the important thing.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, yes. Good weekend. I hope everybody out there did have a happy Halloween. I think it's worth mentioning really quick. We talked about it when it was first announced, is there was an animated movie that came out called Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo, but
yes,
it co-starred the Scarecrow, like literally Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow was in it, and so it was one of those things where we were like, well, let's wait to see it, because maybe it's Batman-y enough that it's worth doing on the show. And I think you even asked me, you're like, oh, so we're going to do it on the show? And then I watched it, and I was like, nah, like, there's,
no.
Yeah, I mean, the Scarecrow is in it, but I would even call his role an extended cameo.
Yeah, he's not in it for very long. Like, the trailer made it seem like he's the main villain. But
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
So while I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I do think for those folks out there who like Scooby-Doo and like Halloween, it's worth watching, and like Elvira. Hello, we love Elvira. If you like all those things, absolutely worth watching. But if you're going for DC content, it is disappointing. It is not very DC heavy. It is barely DC. But I will say this, Brendan. There is a guy I work with. His name is John Crane.
Oh, shit.
And every time I see him, in my head, I go, Dr. Jonathan Crane.
I don't blame you.
But I've never actually said it to him because I don't know him very well. So I just have that private moment when he's around.
Yeah, wow, that's kind of awesome and also unfortunate. But
Yeah, it's
good for you.
cool. That's a cool name. Anyway, so Happy Halloween, Scooby-Doo. I enjoyed it. You know what? It's kind of weird, but it was almost like Scooby-Doo Fury Road.
I have to be honest. I did watch it as part of my Scare-a-thon, but I was actually unpacking my comics.
Oh, so you only kind of half watched
while
it?
It was. Yeah, it was on. I was catching the gist of it, and then I think for maybe the last quarter of it, I just completely zoned out.
That's okay. It's fine.
It's not that I wasn't enjoying it. It was just by that stage I was sort of putting all the comics on the shelf and trying to organize them in some sort of order, and yeah, I zoned out for the last quarter of it.
That's okay. I mean, Scooby-Doo is kind of best for that. Like, I love Scooby-Doo, but it's not something that requires all of your attention.
No.
It's more of a pleasant backdrop, as you do other stuff. So I get that. But yeah, I didn't think it was, once I watched it, I was like, I don't think it's worth doing it on BatCast. Like, I mean, we've stretched before, in all fairness, but it just felt like too much of a stretch for me. But that doesn't mean that someday I can't do it on the Halloween special over on the RF for RM show.
That's very true, actually.
So I can save it for that.
Because I know that's starting to be slim pickings at the moment.
I know. We're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel. But you know what? I did some research, and I found a lot more that we can talk about. So I think I'm good for another couple years. So we didn't talk about that animated movie, but we've got another animated movie of sorts, short film, short DC showcase, whatever you want to call it. We do have one of those that is new. It came out on October 13th. So I wanted to give everyone a couple weeks to check it out. If they had time, I wanted to give myself time to check it out because I've also been sitting on it because I was so in my Scare-a-thon watching Halloween stuff that I was just like, it can wait. But now we're in November. Halloween is over. The decor is down. Yes, it makes me sad. But I was like, well, now is the time we can do a Death in the Family. So yeah, why don't we take a look at Batman, or I guess it's DC Showcase, Batman, Death in the Family. Yeah, all those in that order. as I said, this came out on October 13th. It did come out, I think it was day and date, digital and Blu-ray, because here, this is one where they're really encouraging, get the Blu-ray, because that's how you get the interactivity. I'm in China. I can't get the Blu-ray. I could have, I guess, ordered it and then had it shipped to China for like a ridiculous amount of money, but I'm like, I'll just buy it digitally, and then when I get back home to the States, then I will buy the Blu-ray and relive it all over again. So what's fun is that I'm reviewing the digital version and you're reviewing the disc.
Yes.
But it'll be fun to kind of hear the differences of those two things. So let's see here. This one is directed by Brandon Vietti, and it has the voices, a lot of the returning voice cast from Under the Red Hood. So we've got Bruce Greenwood back as Batman, Vincent Martella as Jason Todd / the Red Hood, John DiMaggio is back as the Joker. Gary Cole, who I do love, he shows up as Two-Face and Commissioner Gordon. And
there's a
then,
noticeable absence.
Yeah, there is a noticeable absence. But yeah, this is in continuity. Depending on what you choose. But technically, yes, it's a prequel, sidequel, alternate reality to Under the Red Hood. So it's a lot of the same people. But yeah, who's the absence? You mentioned it when you watched this.
Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, no Jensen Ackles. So
like, it's to me, particularly when Jason is Red Hood, the change in voice really, really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can get into it.
Yeah, so we watched it. Again, you did the disc. How long did it take you to like go in and make all the choices?
Oh God,
I feel like it had to have taken a long time.
I didn't really pay much attention to that. It didn't take that long. Like look, I'm honestly just having a stab in the dark here, but I reckon to go through and do all the different, probably about 40 minutes, between 40 minutes and an hour, I'd say.
Oh wow, okay.
Maybe, give or take a little bit. Like, yeah, I mean the longest one I think was essentially if you just do the Robin dies off the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know how far you want to get into things at the moment, but that one seemed to play out the longest.
Oh, it's so long.
You don't really have any.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah.
So it took me forever, but here's why. So on the digital version, there is like the main version that you hit play, and it's an hour and a half. And what it is it's what happens when Robin dies, and then it's all of the additional shorts that play one after another.
Oh, okay.
So it's the death in the family if Robin dies, and then it is, I'm doing it by memory, so forgive me. It is Sergeant Rock, it's Adam Strange, it's Phantom Stranger, and then it's Death. I think those were all of them. And so
I haven't watched any of those yet.
Oh, you haven't watched them? Well, I guess we're not reviewing those.
No.
Well, then I will say now, they're absolutely worth watching. If they're on the disc, it's totally worth watching.
They are. Yeah, I just haven't had time.
They're all really good. Strangely, I think Sergeant Rock was my favorite, which is so not me, but once you see it, you'll know why it's my favorite.
What? Yeah, wasn't there one? It was like him with, because it came like the new one is Death. Is that correct? The other ones are old.
Yes. But I had only seen Sergeant Rock because I mean, for the past year and a half, I've been in China, so I've only bought digital, and the digital versions don't usually come with the DC Showcase shorts. Or I was watching it on DC Universe.
Yeah, because the Sergeant Rock one is like, kind of has like a monster element to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it's Sergeant Rock and the Creature Commandos, and that's why I loved it so much.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I think I even had it on a disc. I can't remember what it came out with, but I did own it previously. It's one of those things. I'll put the movie on, I'll watch it, and then I'll forget about all those bonus things.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, but because they're all strung together, I just was like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sergeant Rock, yeah, it was my favorite because, yeah, it's the Creature Commandos. So it's him and the Creature Commandos, which is a vampire, a Frankenstein, and a Wolfman. And then they fight a bunch of zombie soldiers. So it's like, this is the best thing ever. Make that a movie and I will watch it. Make that an ongoing series and I will buy it. And then the Death one, it's not very superhero-y, but it was really good.
Okay.
I mean, they were all really good, honestly. Like, I don't think any of them were bad, but I think those were the ones that stood out. I thought Adam Strange was really cool. They took a very different approach than I would have expected, but it was cool. It was interesting. And then Phantom Stranger was really interesting too. That was like a 70s kind of period piece. It was cool too. So honestly, all four of them, I like them all. But yeah, they were all strung together with the Death in the Family version where Robin dies. And then as extras are 3 other alternate stories.
Right.
So I watched the full thing, which was an hour and a half. And then the other alternate stories were all 20-ish minutes. So that was another hour.
Okay.
And so it took me a while to watch it all.
Maybe it took longer. I honestly wasn't paying much attention when I first went through it all, so.
But you also didn't watch the 4 extras, which is an hour.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then what I noticed is that when I watched the alternate versions, the 3 extra stories, the first half of them, it's all the same. Because it's all the same setup to get to the moment where Jason lives or dies. So I realized that, like, for the first 8 minutes, I could kind of space out or play on my phone because I'm like, yeah, I just watched this. But I didn't fast forward it because I was like, well, just in case there's something in here that's different, but there's really not. Like, up to the moment where Jason's about to die, it's the same in every version. But yes, so I watched, that's how it was set up for digital. I watched them all. And I have thoughts on that. So let's start spoiler free.
Thought you might.
Yeah, let's start spoiler free. What's your spoiler free reaction to Death in the Family?
It's, in a word, it's disappointing. But that sounds too harsh at the same time, I think. I appreciate what they were trying to do, like to do something different, to do this interactive thing, and God bless them for trying and doing something they haven't done before. I mean, you got to give them props for that. I just don't think. I would have been much happier, particularly given the fact that this is in the same world as, Under the Red Hood, which is no secret. It's my favorite Batman animated movie. It's my favorite of the DC, straight to home video animated movies that have been coming out since 2008. So, I mean, it is a very high bar because, I mean, Under the Red Hood, I mean, there's a reason why they picked that one to do, because it's always, if it's not on the top of everybody's list, it's up there. Like, people love that movie.
You know what's so amazing about it is, like, I mean, you're right. Like, it's amazing how much people love that movie. And when you set up that, what did you call it? The Batman Challenge, the Batman Monthly Challenge. What was it?
Yes. Oh yeah. The Batman ISO Challenge.
Yeah, the Batman ISO Challenge. So when you did that, and then we reviewed it, one of the days was favorite Batman animated film, and I expected it to be like 90% Mask of the Phantasm and like 10% other. And it was like 50% Mask of the Phantasm, 40% Red Hood, and then 10% other. I was like shocked at how many people had it up there with Mask of the Phantasm. I was kind of impressed because they're both amazing movies. Like it's hard to say one over the other, but like, yeah, so you're right. Like, I'm impressed by how much of a following that one has gained over the years.
Yeah, and it's scary that it's 10 years old this year as well. Like, that's insane. But I appreciate them trying to do something different. But if you're going to touch that world again, I think I would have preferred them just go all out and do a prequel. Like, tell the story of Batman with Jason and have the end, like, literally have the end of the movie be where Red Hood starts. And do that. Or, I mean, hell, I would have even been, even if they did a sequel to it, you know, and continued the Red Hood story and got, because one of the main draws for that movie for me is the voice cast. Like, Bruce Greenwood to me is my second favorite Batman voice after Kevin Conroy. I think he's fantastic. You know, Jensen Ackles was a great Jason Todd. Joe DiMaggio, I mean, who knew he would be such a good Joker? Because when that was announced 10 years ago, I was like, really? Okay. But it works. I was so happy when, not realizing Jensen Ackles wasn't involved originally, but I was so happy that these guys all got the chance to come back and have another crack at it, because they were so bloody good and they're underused, and I think they should be in more stuff as those characters. But yeah, it's a little disappointing, and some of the options where they lead you to, they're kind of weird, for lack of a better term. Particularly involving one character that we'll get to. I was just like, what the hell? Okay. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I would have much preferred just a straight up either prequel or sequel, and I think we'd be having a very different conversation than what we're having now.
Honestly,
or what we're about to have, I should say.
I think I agree with you pretty much wholesale. I agree with all of that. I think that, I mean, I enjoyed it well enough, but I think that the ambition was there. And as you said, like, good for them for doing something like this. I think an interactive movie is a really cool idea and it's really fun. And also, maybe I would enjoy it more if I was able to do the interactive part. But instead, I just sort of watched 4 versions of the same story. So maybe it did lose something because of that, and I will be very curious, you know, when I do get the disc to go through it again and see if I enjoy it more when I'm making real-time decisions. But I appreciate what they were going for, but my biggest issue is that it felt like they were given $100 and they were like, that's all you get, so do your best. Because it just felt really cheaply done. Like, they didn't have much money, so they were stretching it as well as they could, because even with 4 different versions of the movie, they kept reusing the same animation over and over again. And they might tweak some of the shots, barely, you know? Like, they used the same shot from Under the Red Hood, and they just sort of kept changing the way Jason looked, but it was the same shot in every version. And, like, that's kind of fun, but to me it also felt like it was cost savings. And at the same time, there were just long swaths of story where there was no animation, where it was just still pictures or still drawings with voiceover over the still drawings. And it reminded me of like having an old video game that was a lower budget video game, and that was the cinematics in between gameplay, was when it was just like this static drawing with a voiceover over it, because there was a bunch of that here too, where I was like, oh, like, you didn't have money to animate this, so this is your solution. And I get it, it's a creative way of doing it, but it just felt like they didn't have the budget to make good on what they were trying to do. And so I think they did the best they could, but if you're paying attention, it's noticeable.
Yeah, once we get over the spoiler wall, we'll talk about reusing animation.
Yeah, so...
particularly for one of the outcomes.
Right. So, yeah, there were things like that where I was like, man, you just didn't quite have the money. And then I didn't mind the weird choices they made in some of the alternate realities, because I'm like, well, I mean, isn't that kind of the point? It's a what if, and you're able to go down a really bizarre rabbit hole because none of it matters. It's not in continuity. So, like, I kind of appreciated taking bigger swings, because, yeah, otherwise it might just be a little boring to be like, oh, okay, it's just another version of what we've already seen. Go a little crazy. And I think they went a little crazy, and I actually like that about it. But yeah, would I have rather just gotten a straight up prequel or a straight up sequel or both? Yeah, I think I would have. Because to your point, I love the original film. I was really excited to revisit the world of that original film. I liked the designs and the animation of that original film. I liked the voice cast, to your point. John DiMaggio, amazing. Bruce Greenwood, amazing. Like, a great voice cast. Yeah, I think I would have just liked...
MPH as Nightwing, he was amazing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. So, like, I think that probably would have felt more satisfying. But again, I respect the ambition. I'm just not sure it really came together in the way they hoped. They either needed a higher budget to make the options worthwhile, or they needed a higher budget to make a more realized story or film, because as it is, it's just like, it just feels like an experiment, and almost an excuse to just bundle the rest of the shorts with it and then sell it on its own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It's kind of disappointing. I wanted to love it. I didn't love it, but I appreciate what they did, and it's kind of fun and kind of random. But yeah, like, I don't have much more than faint praise for it.
The problem is, and I was thinking this like the first time I watched it, because I've gone through it twice now. Once when I first bought it and once in prep for this show, but it really lacks rewatchability, I think. And I think that's where the interactive thing is going to work against it, because, I mean, yeah, the first time you do it, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let's see where this takes me. Let's see where this takes me. But once you've done it, like, if you just feel like sitting down and watching something,
yeah,
you're not gonna reach for this. I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I won't be bothered. Like, it's, yeah, like, it'll be maybe a once every 2 or 3 years if I'm like, oh, I haven't watched this in a while and I don't have 90 minutes. You know, let's just chuck this on. But yeah, I think that's where they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. Is it doesn't have rewatchability.
I think you're right. And honestly, I guess I was going to say this at the end, but hey, why not now? It's fine. I think the best reason to buy this is the other 4 shorts, because I think those are all really good, and they're better. They just feel like more realized stories, and those I would rather revisit than this, because this one just feels kind of cobbled together. So it's definitely, I think, worth your money, but probably not for the reason you thought. That's just my opinion. So yeah, is it worth your time? I think so. I think it's worth checking out. If you listen to this, you're a Batman fan, you like Under the Red Hood, I think it's worth checking out. I definitely think, you should lower and manage your expectations. Mine had already been managed a little bit. You had...
Yeah, I know. I did give you a heads up.
You gave me a heads up, and that's fair. And then our friend Guy Milks, he hated it. But, I'm like, I don't think I'll hate it. But still, hearing some negative responses makes me go, okay, well, manage my expectations. And when I watched it, I was like, okay, I get why some people didn't like it. I do get it. And I didn't love it. But, yeah. I still think it's worth checking out for the experiment version. I definitely say get the disc, because if you're going to get it, might as well make it interactive. But really, enjoy those other 4 shorts, because they're actually really good. But we should talk spoilers, and there is stuff you can spoil, so be aware of that, because like we said, with the different ways the story can go, they take some pretty big swings, but again, because it's not in continuity, they can. But we'll talk about that. So just be warned, if you don't want to get spoiled, maybe now jump ahead to the Wayne Manor mailbox. But we're going to speak freely. So there you go. Spoiler warning is in effect. So the funny thing is for the digital one, like, you would think they would put the main story as the primary one that you watch, that's then bundled with all the shorts. And so the one that they chose to do that with is the one where Jason dies. And so I hit play, and I was like, oh, okay, I picked up pretty early on. I'm like, oh, this is the one where Jason doesn't make it. And you gave me the heads up on this, but it is literally just a half an hour encapsulation of Under the Red Hood with Bruce narrating it.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
Of course, yes. When I put the disc in, I was like, I'm going to kill this mother because, that's what everyone is going to do. And I was the same as you. Like, I saw Guy's reaction a couple of days before I watched it, because this was like literally the week that we'd sort of just moved in and everything when the disc came out, and I needed to go to a shop to grab something, and I was like, oh, that comes out today, so I ducked into JB and grabbed it. But it sat on my shelf for like 4 days, which for a new Batman animated thing is unheard of for me. But I didn't get to it for a while. But I'd seen Guy's reaction. I was like, and no offense, Guy, but I was just kind of like, that's Guy just being like, that's Milks being Milks, whatever.
Right. Exactly. Like, yeah, I'm like, okay, that feels extreme, like it can't be that bad.
That was he's like, oh, it's an excuse to recycle animation and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, whatever, Guy, cool your jets. And then I put it in. I selected Robin Dies, and I was like, holy shit! Like, he is right. I was dumbfounded. As you said, it is literally the movie Under the Red Hood condensed. It's a shit version of a really, really good movie narrated by Bruce. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, my heart sank as the more it went on. I was just like, oh my God, this is literally recycled animation. There is nothing different here. And it went on for the best part of half an hour. That's when I was...
It just keeps going. Exactly. It just keeps going and going. And it's like, I've already seen this movie, and there's nothing new to it. It is just Bruce talking you through Under the Red Hood. And I was like, this is the least interesting version of Death in the Family, because we already own that movie. Why would you put this as the one I should watch with the shorts? Why would this not be one of the bonus episodes and you choose one of the other ones that are way more interesting as your primary?
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, even if you buy the disc, like, if you don't know what we're telling you now, of course that's going to be the first one you go to, because we know what happens when he lives. Because we've seen, as you said, we've seen that movie. We know how that story plays out. And then you select his death, and it's the same fucking thing. That's when I was just sitting there, folded arms, shaking my head, going, "You're kidding me!" And yeah, that's when I did check my expectations based on what Guy said, but again, sometimes Guy's opinion compared to mine was polar opposites, and he can be a little bit, extreme in his views. But man, he was dead on with it. I was really pissed off, to tell you the truth.
Mm. Yeah, that's the version. Like, don't even bother watching it. But if you are, wait till last, because like, I started with it because they put it as the version. And I think you said the same thing, as you started with it too. And if you start with this, like, you start on the wrong foot, because you're like, oh, like, I've already seen all this better in the movie. Like, why do I have to watch the recap version? And I kept waiting for something new to be added to it, that it was worth
that's
re-showing
what I was doing. Yes.
But there's nothing new to it.
And like, at the end, like, he's in a diner telling the story, and you know who he's talking to.
I didn't.
And you're like, oh really?
No, I didn't see it coming. I didn't think much about it, but I also didn't see it coming.
Oh no, I was onto that straight away. So I was like, okay. Something's okay. They're going to add something in here, and they're not just going to replay the movie. And then I'm just like, holy shit, they're just going to replay the movie. And then it ended and the credits started. I was like, okay, let's go back and see what happens if I choose something else. And, that's when stuff started to get a little better.
Yeah, it's a little more interesting when you choose other things, or at least, for the digital one, where you watch some of the alternate storylines. Because, the recap version is is just a waste of time. It's boring. You already know what happens. There's nothing added to it. It is just a 30-minute version of a 70-minute movie.
I love Bruce Greenwood's Batman voice, but I don't need to hear it for 30 minutes talking about a movie I can watch that's better.
Yeah. So that was hugely disappointing. So I guess for, spoiler effect is out there. So there are 3 other stories that I got with the digital one. The first one, what the heck was it called? The first one was like Jason Todd's Revenge. The second one, oh my God, I'm sorry. I wish I should have pulled them up. I didn't. Anyway.
Well, I know what it's like on the disc because I literally wrote down a flow chart.
Do they have do they have the names though?
I was going to be able to do this.
Do they have the names?
Not really. So essentially, when it comes to, like where the warehouse blows up, there's the 3 options of 1, Robin dies, which we've talked about. There's Robin cheats death, and there's Batman saves Robin. They're the 3 options you can make at that first point of choose your own adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them. I'll tell you what I've got here. So with Robin cheats death, it just shows one, I think maybe 7-minute, add-on to it, and then that's the end of that stretch.
Yeah, and so I think that's the first one that was on the digital one, because on that one, Batman doesn't get to the warehouse in time. Robin is all wrapped up, and he essentially becomes Hush.
Yes. So that's that one. So yeah, Jason becomes Hush, and then it's not really jumping to the end. It's only like 7 minutes, but like, that one kind of winds up where Talia shows up, and Jason gets Damien. But like, yeah, that one, it's very streamlined. So you choose Robin cheats death, you get that little story, and then again, it's credits.
So you only get to make the one choice.
So essentially, yeah. So if you choose Robin cheats death, you get that, the Hush story. He gets Damien in the end, and then it's credits. But you hit menu, and it takes you back to that point where you can choose other things. So, when I go back, for example, after doing the Robin cheats death one, I can then choose Batman saves Robin, and that one is where there's multiple outcomes.
Yeah.
Like it gives there's, as that story plays out, there's several other, choose your own adventure elements. So I think from that one alone, it goes off to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different outcomes.
Oh wow.
Or 10 different options that you can choose. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I know that the disc version does have additional animation, and because there are more choices. So okay, I finally found it. This should not be this hard to find, but here are the 4 versions. There is the main version, which I already talked about. It's called Under the Red Hood Reloaded, and it was pointless.
Okay.
Then it was Jason Todd's Rebellion. That was the Hush one, where essentially Jason, he gets blown up, but he doesn't die, and he essentially becomes Hush. Then there's Robin's Revenge, and so in that one, Batman saves him, Batman dies, and he becomes Red Robin, and goes on a killing spree, but then sees the error of his ways, kind of repents and decides to be better, and he takes Tim Drake under his wing. And then the last one was Red Hood's Reckoning, where he still becomes the Red Hood, and he is trying to call out the Joker, and so he and the Joker have like a big confrontation, and the Joker thinks it's hilarious because he basically says, "Oh, I created you. Now I'm your new dad." So those are the 3 other ones that I got.
Right. So, yeah, there's different ways to get to those points on the disc. So I'll run you through my flowchart here. So we've done the Robin cheats death. That's where he becomes Hush, gets Damien. End of story for that one. If you go Batman saves Robin, yes, Batman dies. So Batman gives him that speech of, essentially, please don't kill the Joker. Don't kill him for me. Calls him his son, all the rest of it. So you then get to choose again whether he catches the Joker or kills the Joker. So if you choose catch the Joker, that's where he becomes Red Hood, kills everyone, and he blocks it out. He doesn't think that he's killed everyone, but he has.
Right.
Joker. So then you have to choose spare the Joker. That's the next thing that happens. So that's where, okay, I don't think you've seen this, and it gets a little weird. So he spares the Joker. The Bat family disowns him because of all the murders that he did as Red Hood.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the rooftop. It goes to a scene where he's on the rooftop of Wayne Enterprises. Talia shows up. She resurrected Bruce.
Yes, that was at the end of the Red Hood story that's on the digital.
So he comes back as the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh.
Yes.
Okay, because that was weird. I thought that was a weird choice, but it's like, okay.
It is, but yes, it was in there. That was after he and the Joker thing. That one I think was the longest because it had both of those things.
Well, when Batman of Zur-En-Arrh shows up, you then get another choice because they have Batman and Jason are going to battle to the death. And you have to choose, if it's a life or death battle, you get to choose life or you get to choose death.
Mm-hmm.
So if you choose life, they fight. He doesn't kill Bruce, but the Bat family they take Jason back in. He heals. He repents for what he did. And Bruce ends up, he's essentially in the Batcave, in a cell, in a straitjacket.
Yeah, that was the way it ended on the digital version.
Okay, if you choose death, they fight. Jason stabs Batman straight through the heart in his chest. He falls down, and you think he's dead. He then pulls out from his belt a bomb and blows all of them up, and you see the charred corpse. They literally show you the charred corpses of Talia, Batman, and Jason on the rooftop of Wayne Enterprises, and that's where that version ends.
Oh, yeah, that was not in there.
Okay, so then that's all that side. If you choose catch the Joker. That's the different outcomes you have going that way. So if you go back to now, where Batman saves Robin, Batman dies, and you choose kill the Joker as an option, Jason is he heals. He pretends that he's okay. And I think this is the one you're talking about where they didn't animate it. He's sitting at the back computer, and it's kind of photos of a time lapse where each different still, he's slightly better,
yes.
But he's being visited by a different member of either the Bat family or the Justice League, like Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash. Nightwing shows up a couple of times. I think Barbara might even be one of them. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So then, Jason goes to a diner and finds essentially a quote-unquote reformed Joker who doesn't look like the Joker anymore.
Yes, he's in the diner, right?
Yes. So he's got the flesh color and everything, and they Jason didn't know he was there. Joker didn't know Jason was going to be there. They didn't know who they were to start with. They just see a news report. I think it was something about Batman, and Joker starts saying, like, no one really knew him, and Jason starts talking about him as well, and then they put together who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when Jason realizes who he is, he gets a knife, stabs him clean in the eye, and Joker dies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from there, I have a feeling I know where yours goes from here, but there was two other versions where I think it would separate compared to what you had. So, the Joker dies. Police show up, and they ask Jason to surrender. So then you get the choice whether does he surrender or does he attack.
Mm-hmm.
So if you choose surrender, similar to the scene in the Batcave where it cuts to, I'm pretty sure it's from memory, it's just still shots, and it's Jason behind bars, and he progressively gets a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets more rugged, like he's got tattoos on his hands and stuff, and I think one hand says jail, the other one says bird, and the voiceover is saying that he can now dish out justice from behind bars. So I guess he becomes the jailbird, and that's where that version ends, like its credits. But then if you go back again to Jason attacks the police, this is where Jason becomes Red Robin. Mm-hmm. Goes on a rampage just like Red Hood, and they reuse the footage of the Red Hood stuff. Except he's dressed as Red Robin, not Red Hood. And this one sort of culminates where he comes across Two-Face. Mm-hmm. They have a fight, and Two-Face bests Jason. And being Two-Face, of course, he flips the coin. So you see where this is going. So you get to choose good side or bad side. So if you choose the good side, this is where Jason is saved by Tim Drake. Jason reforms. He keeps the Red Robin disguise, but he's reformed himself. He's not killing anymore, and he teams up with Tim Drake, who becomes Batkid. Mm-hmm. Which I had issues with. I was like, really? Okay. But then if you chose the bad coin, Two-Face essentially points out to Jason how evil he's become, and he doesn't kill him. He just goes, essentially the worst punishment he can dish out is making him live with the knowledge of all the bad things that he's done. And it kind of ends with, again, a random still shot of him in the Batcave looking sad, with Dick and Barbara kind of like not hugging him, but sort of consoling him. Mm-hmm. And then that's where that one ends. So they're all the different outcomes you could have with the disc.
Interesting. All right. Well, so yeah, there are some. It's funny because it seems like you hit some dead ends that they didn't bother including in the digital one, like where he ends up in jail. That I did not see, or the one you just mentioned where he doesn't team up with Tim. He doesn't team up with Tim. And yeah, so he ends up just sort of bitter in the Batcave. Like, yeah, that didn't happen. And then where they all get blown up by resurrected Bruce, like that wasn't in there either. So it seems like they kind of included all the ones that were longer and a little more story heavy. But
yes,
it's like we were saying that, and you kind of referenced it as well, is they reused a lot of the Red Hood footage, but they just drew over the Red Hood, and they used the same footage and just drew over him and made him Hush. And then they did it again and drew over him and made him Red Robin. So it's still the same footage every time. They just changed the look of who Jason is dressed as. Like, yes. There was even a moment where he kills Cheetah at a distance as a sniper, and it's the same exact footage. They just changed how he's dressed. So, again, like, I get it, like, being creative with what resources you have, but it also just kind of felt a little cheap, you know? So I will say, like, of all the options that they gave, the one I enjoyed the most was the Red Robin one, because there's no reason Jason should be Red Robin. And then, yeah, Tim Drake becoming Bat Kid. Like, it's so random. But I think I just liked the story the most because there was more to it. I liked the fact that he went off the deep end and then he came back and, like, repented and tried to be better. I liked that about it. And I liked that, of course, that it's still, even though Jason took on the persona of Red Robin, I still like that they were like, well, we still have to give a nod to Tim Drake. He should still be part of the story. And so I think that's why I liked that too. So I had less of an issue with them mixing up the, you know, who Jason is and who Tim Drake is, because again, it's all alternate reality stuff anyway. So
But
why the hell not?
That's the best they could come up with.
Yeah, like, I liked the idea of him taking Tim under his wing the way Bruce did for him. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
if he's Red Robin,
Kid?
if he's
So
Red
lame.
Robin and Tim Drake takes on a bat persona, there should have been something cooler or more creative than that. I agree.
But honestly, just make him Robin. Like, not even for the fact of, like, that's who he was in the comics. Like, I get alternative realities and stuff, and it you know, the continuity side of it doesn't really matter. But Bat Kid? I just thought that's something that a 5-year-old would make up. Like, he could have still been Robin, because in this story, Damien doesn't exist, and Tim, you know, Jason's not Robin, and in the comics, Red Robin and Robin existed at the same time.
Mhm.
Like, just make him Robin. It was,
Well-
that Bat Kid was such a bizarre choice.
It was, but I get the rationale. Like, I understand why, because now Red Robin is the main guy, and so it doesn't make sense for it to be Red Robin and Robin. So I get why Tim would then be something Bat-based. There just should have been something more creative than Bat Kid.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I get it
I
as
guess
a
I can see
nod to
that point.
Bruce of like, oh, now he's taking someone else and he's you know, he's trying to be true to Bruce, and so yeah, now his protege will be a bat like Bruce was, like his mentor was. But so I get what they were going for. It just seems like they could have come up with something just a little more creative.
The one that I will say, I really liked Two-Face.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
I loved the design. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm. And Gary Cole is awesome.
Was it Gary Cole?
Yeah,
like,
Gary Cole is awesome.
man, he sounded just like animated series Two-Face.
Yeah.
He sounded really, really good. Hearing that, like, and I've been saying for forever, it's just like you've teased it a few times. Like, you did the Batman and Harley Quinn thing. You did the Justice League versus was it the Fatal Five, or was that it?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember the one I mean.
Yes.
I think, yeah, it was the Fatal Five, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Like, they've teased going back into that Bruce Timm, you know, Batman the Animated Series universe. Like, you can, like, yes, some of the voice cast have gone, but you can do it. Like, I'm not expecting like a full 26, 23, whatever episode animated series, although I would bloody love that. That'd be fantastic. But even if you wanted to do like a proper, and I mean proper, movie set in the Batman the Animated Series universe, like, you've got guys like that. Like I said, if I didn't know the original voice actor had passed away for Batman the Animated Series,
Did he? Did Richard Mole die?
I'm pretty sure he did, didn't he?
Oh, I thought Richard Mole was still around, but I don't know. Let me check. Now you've got me doubting myself.
I might have been thinking.
Yeah, he's still
somebody
alive.
else.
He's still alive.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I take it back. I killed him before his time. I'm sorry, Richard. But, you know, if he didn't want to come back, or he's too old or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Gary, he sounded just like him.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It
Mhm.
was a really, really, really good effort. So I was impressed with Two-Face. That was really cool. I would have actually liked to have seen... And that was the thing. Like, you could have done a sequel or a prequel, and use Two-Face.
Yeah,
for something
exactly.
like-
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to see more of that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it was part of the DC Fandom panel where they said the moment where Jason as Red Robin, he ends up falling underneath a giant cell phone. They said that was a nod to like how in the 50s Batman and Robin would fight on oversized props like the big typewriter, the big piano, stuff like that. So they said it was partly a nod to that, but also partly a nod that Robin was killed by phone calls when the Death in the Family comics arc happened.
You know what? I didn't pick up on that, but it's actually quite clever.
I don't think I would have picked up on it either, so that's why I'm like, I think they said it in the panel. But yeah, I actually thought that was kind of cool too. So yeah, like the Hush one I thought was weird, but then again, I always liked the idea of Jason Todd being Hush better than Tommy Elliott anyway. So that bothers me even less than Rod Robin because like Tommy Elliott, he's not my favorite, but Hush is cool. Yeah.
We've always said, like, if you're doing a story like that with Batman and you introduce this new character that's got some weird link to Bruce and there's this mysterious villain and no one knows who it is, chances are it's going to be the guy that we've never heard of before.
Pretty safe bet. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. But again, it was more of just like, oh, he goes on a killing spree. And then Talia giving him Damian is just kind of like, okay, sure, why? And then, yeah, the other one where he's Red Hood, I thought he and the Joker's confrontation and conversation was actually really cool. Because, again, we got more John DiMaggio Joker. I really liked that. And I really liked that, you know, Jason thought he was getting revenge on the Joker. And the Joker's like, no, you're becoming me. I thought that was pretty cool. But then, yeah, the weird epilogue with resurrected crazy Bruce was also a very odd choice too. So it's weird because these were a lot more interesting because at least I didn't know where they were going. But some of the choices I went, oh, that's kind of neat. And then some of the choices I just went, what? And then where he got the name of, what was it? Zur-En-Arrh. Yeah, Zur-En-Arrh, where that came from. I thought that was kind of creative. Random, but creative.
I hate that version of Batman. Like, that was when I tapped out of the comics years ago when it was Grant Morrison writing. It was that R.I.P. storyline or building up to that storyline. And then, Batman of Zur-En-Arrh showed up. I'm like, man, this is just too out there for me. I'm done. Yeah. So when he showed up in this, I was like, my eyes rolled that far in the back of my head. I saw brain. But I honestly can't remember if in the comics, if that's where that came from or not, that the name Zur-En-Arrh.
Maybe it does, because I don't know anything about that version of Batman. I completely missed that when it was in the comics. So you're right. There might be people listening and going, yeah, that was Grant Morrison. I bet. Yeah, and look, apologies if it was. I had no idea.
If that's where it came from and that's how it was written in the comics, then I do actually like that part of it. That's cool.
It's kind of interesting.
I have to admit, I was impressed that that's how it was done here. I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. I still hate that version of Batman, but that's kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, I liked all the alternate realities better than the recap. I think they're worth watching because they're all Elseworlds tales in and of themselves, where it's just sort of like, like what if, why the heck not? And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm sort of in the middle on it. Funny, because you were talking about how much you liked Two-Face, and he sounded like the animated series Two-Face, and because like they're resurrecting Animaniacs and they're resurrecting Tiny Toons now, you gotta wonder if Batman the Animated Series is on that list. Because you're right, there's really no reason they can't. They just resurrected it for the comics, for the digital comics. Animation is animation. That doesn't have to age. And most of the cast is still around and still sounds great. So, I don't know. It seems like it should be a no-brainer because...
It seems... Yeah, I was literally about to say no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that show has got I mean, beyond cult following, like
It's a bona fide classic.
It's like in the zeitgeist of not just Batman fans, but animation fans and pop culture fans. Like I said, I just bought a friggin' shirt today. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like with stores like, Hot Topic and Box Lunch and stuff in America. You might come across these things a bit more than, but over here, I mean, the fact that there was a newly released Batman the Animated Series T-shirt in a major chain of stores over here, that's, I mean, that show has never died.
Mm-hmm. No, you're
So
absolutely
yeah,
right.
it does. It's a no-brainer in the days of HBO Max and stuff like that. Like, and they seem to, they're using the DC brand,
Mm-hmm. Well,
and not
especially
every.
now, because now we're in the streaming wars, and for these streaming
Mhm.
services to thrive, they need buzzy content. I mean, that's why we're getting Zack Snyder's Justice League, is they need content that people want to talk about, that people can't miss. Disney Plus, for the impressive library that's on Disney Plus, I really feel like a huge chunk of that success is because of The Mandalorian, because it's a buzzy show that people don't want to miss out on. Prime
Man,
has The
I think that's a
Boys.
that's a massive part of of what it is with Disney Plus. Because I'll be honest, um, we signed up for it when it launched last November, December, in Australia, and it's probably the one that we've watched the least in the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not Star Wars people, so I mean, I don't watch The Mandalorian. Um, I'm semi interested in some of the Marvel shows that are coming. Um, I won't watch them religiously like I do other stuff, but I'll check them out. But I I genuinely don't know if it's one that we're gonna sign up for again, because that's $90 that we could save.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in saying that, yesterday for the first time in months, I did put it on for a little while and watched like an episode of Goof Troop and Rescue Rangers and Gummy Bears, just because I had a little bit of time to kill and I was over watching the election stuff. Um, but yeah, it's one we're probably going to lose. But again, if you put on a streaming service, hey, we're bringing back Batman the Animated Series for 15 to 20 episodes or whatever, people aren't going to miss that. Like,
Yeah.
they are going to watch that.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So I think it would be smart. I think you could go that way. I think people would be dying for it. So I would not be shocked at this point. Again, because they're resurrecting some of these other beloved animated things, to me, it seems like Batman would make sense, especially to your point. Like, since they're folding all the DC Universe content into it anyway, that seems like a good way to get some additional buzz for it. So anyway, we'll see. Sorry, I didn't mean to take us on a tangent, but it was just something that crossed my mind when you were essentially pitching, bring back Batman the Animated Series. Like, I'm like, well, nowadays in this current climate with the streaming, like, it makes all the sense in the world. So you got to imagine that they're at least talking about it or thinking about it.
Yeah.
But back to Batman Death in the Family. Let's give some closing thoughts on this. Overall, Brendan, tell people what you think.
Again, I'll reiterate sort of what I said at the start. I appreciate the effort. I just didn't love the end result. Which it really does, and I don't take pleasure in saying that, because, like I said before, Under the Red Hood is my favorite Batman animated movie of all time. I adore that movie. It's my favorite of that DC run of movies, the DC animated straight to video movies. I absolutely love it. So to have to be told we were revisiting that world, I was really excited, and I feel really let down by what they gave us, which sucks. So if they'd done something different, we would have just had a different conversation, but sadly they didn't. So dude, I think I'm gonna have to go. I hate to say it, but I think C minus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I'm very mixed on it because I didn't love it. It was okay. There were things that I liked. I liked that they took some big swings, but yeah, how much am I going to revisit it? Probably not much. And I probably would revisit it more if it was just a 30-minute prequel to Under the Red Hood called Death in the Family. Like if it was just that, I probably would revisit it. I would probably enjoy that. But the big swings, sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. And here I'm not sure it paid off. And I hate to say it. I don't want to be a downer, but that's how I feel. I still think it's worth purchasing because it's an interesting experiment and it's interesting to go through at least once. And then I do think that the extra shorts are definitely worth your money too. So it is worth picking up. I will buy the disc when I get the chance. But yeah, it's a bit of a letdown, which is a shame because we were all excited to revisit Under the Red Hood. But anyway, good on them for trying, but it just didn't totally work the way I think they hoped it would. I'll just go straight down the middle, C. I think that's all right. So Batman Death in the Family, your mileage may vary, but check it out. It'd be interesting to see what you guys think. But now let's check in and see what you all think as we crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, first message here is from Ralph Richards. It says, hey guys, I hope you're doing well and enjoying the Halloween season. With the announcement that Jared Leto's Joker will be in Zack Snyder's Justice League, how do you think or want him to factor into the movie? Personally, I don't think he'll factor into it much, as it sounds like it'll only be a few scenes, but I would love the new opening of the film to be a showdown between Affleck's Batman and Leto's Joker, possibly at Ace Chemicals. It would be great to finally see these two versions of the characters share an epic scene. Thanks for always cranking out great shows. Stay safe, Ralph Richards. Thank you, Ralph. So what do you think, Brendan? You didn't get a chance to chime in on the Jared Leto Joker return.
Yeah, look, I'm keen to see what they're going to do with it. I think you and I have always been of the same opinion where, we didn't get to see, we didn't get to see what they'd planned for us to see anyway. With Suicide Squad, but we didn't get to see enough. So I think I part of me understands some of the hate thrown towards that version, but I think it's more the aesthetic than what he was doing himself. Because Leto is a great actor. He's an Oscar-winning actor. Mm-hmm. When they announced him for that role back in 2014, it seemed like an absolute no-brainer, and yeah, I'm just excited that he gets to revisit the role. I know it's probably not going to be a major part of the movie, but anything that they get him to do in addition to what we've seen is only going to be good, I think. And yeah, my only prerequisite is that he shares the screen with Affleck, because we have not seen that, and I think we all wanted to see a showdown between Affleck and Leto, and I just really hope that's what we get. Even if it is, look, if it's like I heard you say in one of the episodes about the scene with him in the car and the chase through Gotham and stuff, that's one of my favorite moments in Suicide Squad as well. I think it's fantastic. So if even if it's just that kind of scene, but maybe just a minute or two longer, but with actual confrontation between the two of them, I'll be very happy.
Yeah. I agree with you completely, and I actually love Ralph's idea of using that as an intro of the two of them clashing as some sort of intro scene to Batman, instead of using the what's in the current cut, because in the current cut, which honestly is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, but it's Batman and just a thug. I'd much rather see Batman and the Joker together. I don't expect it to be a huge part. I don't think he'll be in it much. I just think it'll be a cameo, but it could be really cool. I know our pal Robert Reinecke, his theory, which I like, is that there will be some sort of montage that gives us a taste of some of the other plans for the universe that didn't happen. And in that montage, we will see Batman and Joker clashing. And I'm like, that could actually be cool, because that's where you could also get Deathstroke. That's where you could get the Joker, and you could see some glimpses of what was going to be. So yeah, I like that too. But to answer, I guess, the first question, I don't think he's going to be in it much. I think it'll just be a cameo, but I'm still excited about it. This next question is right along the same lines. This is from James McGee. It says, hey guys, I hope all is well. With the news of Jared Leto returning, do you think that we will get a Death of Robin scene? It also would imply that Harley could make an appearance. I think it would be cool to have a sneaky look at the Death of Robin. My question, if there is no Death of Robin in Justice League, what scene would you like to see with Joker and Harley? Thanks, guys. Stay safe and long live the BatCast. Thanks, James. Great to hear from you. So, kind of along the same lines, I think we both kind of answered the second half is, what would we like it to be? Yeah, I mean, I would just like you said, Brendan, a strong scene between Affleck and Leto to see them bounce off of each other. And if Harley's included, hey, even better.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And again, back to Ralph's idea, doing that in Ace Chemicals, oh, man. Heck yeah, count me in. A Death of Robin flashback could be another really cool way to incorporate him into the movie. I like that idea too, James. I don't know if that will happen, but I think it could be really cool. What do you think of that, Brendan?
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but the fact that it's Snyder doing it, that could, if it is a flashback of some description, that would actually make a lot of sense, because, you know, there's a reason Snyder put that costume in the Batcave.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would actually make a lot of sense. So I'm down with that as well. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Next message is from Frank Contreras. It says, hey, Andy, Brendan, and sometimes Jamie. Batman having a female partner sidekick is really cool, and I actually prefer it now. Kane, Brown, Babs, Catwoman, Batwoman, Huntress, Carrie Kelly, there's something pure and powerful about it. So if you had to pick, which female Batfam partner would you love to see in live action first? My choice would be Batwoman. Thanks. Frank, thank you, and I appreciate the message. What do you say, Brendan? Which female partner would you like to see Batman team up with in live action?
Oh, I've got to go the original and the best. It's got to be Barbara.
Yep, same.
Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but what we got in Batman and Robin was not Barbara. Well, literally wasn't Barbara Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I would love to see. And like I said, in my mind's eye, it's kind of that young, spunky, yeah, like I said, almost, you know, Anna Kendrick a couple of years ago, type of, that's sort of what I got in my head. Yeah, I would love to see a young Barbara Gordon in live action as part of a Bat family. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Yep, that would be my first choice too. Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, I think would be awesome. And then I think relatively recently I also said, I think a very focused Batman Catwoman movie could be really cool, where they start as rivals, they team up, they have issues, they break up again, but just really exploring their relationship, but having that become a partnership at a certain point could be a really strong thing too. So I guess those are my two choices. She'd be my second choice too, actually.
Yeah. Like, it does, I mean, obviously not the Bat Cat thing, not that I dive too much into that in the comics and stuff, but yeah, I really do like it when they're allies and they work together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but you also, you know, you can also never quite trust her at the same time. But yeah, I really like that dynamic. Kind of like what we saw, like, speaking of Hush before, like in the Hush movie, their relationship in that was really, really cool.
Yes.
Like, that's this kind of relationship between those two that I really dig.
Right. Agreed. All right, next message is from Mark Jurasevic. Hey, Mark. He says, hey, Batcasters, I hope you've been well. I was having a chat recently with my friend about Henry Cavill in context of Enola Holmes and how good he was. He said the Cavill's the front runner to play the next Bond. I'm not sure about this, but I know his name is out there. My question is, if there could be only one option, would you prefer to see Henry Cavill take on Bond or continue as Superman? As much as I loved him as Superman, he's been given an unwarranted tough serve since BVS, and there was no casting related news at DC Fandom. Just about everything else was in relation to DC. His roles in Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible Fallout demonstrate he has the suave, sophisticated part and great physicality to be a great Bond. Take it easy, guys. Regards, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Well, Brendan, I am glad you were around for this question.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is kind of perfect.
So, Sophie's choice. Henry Cavill. He can be Bond or he can be Superman, but not both.
My answer's probably going to surprise you. Superman.
Oh, okay.
I get the argument for Cavill as Bond, and I think he could. I will specify, like, point out the word here. Could have been a great Bond. His time would have been back in 2005 when because I mean everyone knows he was in the running. Daniel Craig got it, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Given how they cast Bond actors, Cavill to me is too big of a movie star for that role now. They tend to prefer. I mean, you need to remember, like, Connery, when they cast him, he was. I mean, Bond is what made Connery Connery. You could argue that in terms, like, the biggest star, quote unquote, that they ever got to play the role was Roger Moore. Because he was hugely famous off the back of The Saint and everything. I mean, and Pierce Brosnan, I mean, yes, he had some movie roles here and there and Remington Steele. But again, when you think about it, like, Pierce Brosnan didn't become big movie star Pierce Brosnan until after GoldenEye. Like, again, Bond was the thing that really propelled him. So, and it's the same thing with the Tom Hardys and that sort of stuff. Like, they're too big a name for that role. Like, it'll be someone who's either had, some small parts in British movies or British TV series or something. Like, that's what I would envision for the next Bond. So yeah, Cavill to me, I think, is just too big a star. And I mean, the reason why Pierce Brosnan had the role in 1987 and then lost it, I mean, he got cast as, like, they picked up Remington Steele again. I don't know if you know that story. I won't bore you with the details. But the producers said, like, James Bond is not Remington Steele. Remington Steele is not James Bond. So, taking that to the nth degree, Superman is not James Bond. James Bond is not Superman. Like, that's how I think the producers would look at it. So yeah, I think he had his chance to be Bond. He didn't get it. Daniel Craig did. Again, Daniel Craig wasn't a huge movie star until he got Bond. And Cavill, his star-making vehicle was Superman, and I want to see him do more Superman work. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. I think no to Bond, yes to Superman, and I want Henry to do more Superman. I really do.
That wasn't 2 cents. That was like $3.50.
Sorry.
I agree. Superman. But that's because I'm not all that invested in Bond. So, like, I love Cavill as Superman. So, yeah, I want him to keep doing that. But, I mean, I do get it. Like, I also don't necessarily see Cavill as Bond. I think he's a great Superman. So, that's my answer, too. All right, next message is from Joe Kingsley. It says, Andy, I'm disappointed. Which Disney character should be Batman? Obviously, it's Robin Hood. How can you not see this? He's a fox, so his parents were probably shot like Bruce Wayne's.
Christ.
And bats are known as flying foxes. He enjoys a disguise while fighting corruption, and Bruce Wayne says, like Robin Hood in The Dark Knight Rises. It has to be. All the best, Joe. Thanks, Joe. People have had so much fun with that random question we got a while back of casting Disney characters
really cool.
as DC characters. So, thanks, Joe. Good point.
Actually, I see Robin Hood being too cheery to be Batman, though.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of happy-go-lucky. He's more of a Flash personality.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And foxes run fast.
Yeah, see, there you go. Sorry, Joe. Vetoed. Although, can't argue with the dead parents. All right, next message is from The Dark Knight. It says, "Hey guys, I have a question about creative freedom. The Dark Knight and Batman and Robin are both results of directors having creative freedom. One was the highest point in DC movies, while others killed the Batman franchise for years. BVS and The Last Jedi were also movies with directors going crazy that led to splitting of DC and Star Wars fan bases in half. One that wanted more and one that didn't want it. The damage done to DC and Star Wars by BVS and The Last Jedi was not repairable no matter what happened with Justice League and Rise of Skywalker. Justice League's OW was less than
Opening weekend.
Opening weekend. Was less than Iron Man, Man of Steel, and Guardians, and Suicide Squad. That's how much people didn't care about Justice League after BVS, no matter which cut was released. So here's my question. How much creative freedom should be given to a director working in a franchise with a huge and passionate fan base? Hypothetical situations. You're a WB executive and you've got a Batman director who wants Batman shooting people with AK-47s and a Superman director who wants to recast Jesse Eisenberg for Man of Steel 2. Would you let these people go forward with their decisions? If not, does that count as studio interference? I'd love to hear your thoughts." All right, The Dark Knight. That feels like a really involved question.
I will say one thing though.
Yeah.
I would argue that Batman and Robin is not the result of the director having creative freedom. Because like Schumacher said, toy companies and they had huge say in how things played out in that movie. So yeah, I would probably say Batman Forever is more of an example of having creative freedom, aesthetically and stuff. But in terms of Batman and Robin, I think he was actually,
Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it. Because Batman Forever was a hit, so I do think that they just said for Batman and Robin, they're like, "Hey, do that again." And while you're at it, can you put in more toys? And he went, "Yeah, sure, that's fine." So it's not, I wouldn't call that studio interference.
Yeah, you know what I mean though, right? I think he was told that he had to do a lot more in Batman and Robin than he did in Batman Forever.
Yeah. But still, that's going down a different rabbit hole. The bigger question is if we were running the movie studio, how much creative freedom would we allow these people, knowing that sometimes it can split the fan base? So I understand it. Sometimes you give someone like Christopher Nolan creative freedom of The Dark Knight, and it becomes this massive phenomenon because it's an unbridled vision that a lot of people got on board with, and then you give the same sort of freedom to Zack Snyder with Batman versus Superman, and people have very mixed feelings on it. So I get the question. I guess here's what I will say is, if I'm a studio executive and you come to me and you pitch a Batman movie and it's Batman as the Punisher, the way that this listener throws it out there, I'd go, "No, thank you. That's not a Batman movie I'm interested in making." But if they came to me and I said, "Batman as the Punisher, hell yeah, I'm into it. Make that movie," then I'm going to let him make the movie. I'm not going to let him make half the movie and then go, "You know what? Maybe we're going to do less of the whole Punisher thing." Because I feel like you absolutely, as the studio, you are giving this person money to make a movie. Get behind the vision or don't. That's the pitch process. Someone comes and pitches a movie. If I don't like the pitch, I don't have to give you the money to make the movie. It's the meddling that happens along the way or even after the fact. That's the problem. That's my biggest issue with Zack Snyder's Justice League, or the way that went down, is WB was at a crossroads after BVS. You either you stay on the Zack Snyder train and you let him make his Justice League, for better or worse, and you commit to that, or you have the guts to say, "You know what? It didn't work with Batman versus Superman. Sorry, we're going another direction." But they did neither of those things, and it became a freaking mess. You do one or the other. You commit. because all the meddling and second guessing and trying to go back and change it after the fact, all of that is where stuff gets muddy. So if you believe in the pitch, you believe in the movie that's getting made, I say then you stand behind the creative freedom. If you don't like the pitch, then don't commit to it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Man, I had so many thoughts going through my head while you were talking there. Like, I mean, they committed to the vision of Batman versus Superman, but then at the last minute they meddled there as well. Like, it's such a messed up situation. We've talked about it so much over the last 4 or 5 years, but you're right. Like, if they pitch something and you say yes to it, then you owe it to that director to fulfill their vision, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Batman with AK-47s was one. The other one was, wanting to bring back Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Like, I have no problem with that.
Well, no, he said recast Jesse Eisenberg.
Sorry, I misheard the question then. Recast. I mean, it depends who they cast, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, there could be several factors for that, but yeah, I think you're right. Like, if someone came to me and pitched like a Batman just walking around blowing people away, then that's something I'd say no to.
Right. Because
I'd know the reaction that would get. But it's so funny too, like how you talk about, you were saying before how, Nolan was allowed to do what he wanted and The Dark Knight was created and people embraced it, and then that people didn't embrace what Snyder did. It's so funny because, I'd be curious to see how something like BVS would have been accepted had that been if the Nolan trilogy didn't exist and it went straight from Batman and Robin, 10 whatever year gap with no Batman movies, and then they do Man of Steel and Batman gets introduced in BVS and things play out accordingly from there. I would have liked to have seen how the audience reacted, because I've always said, some of the best and worst things to happen to DC on film and Batman on film is the Nolan movies. Because they were so well liked, and they cemented this one version of the character in people's minds who don't necessarily know the comics and the character like we do. And I mean, I saw it, when BVS came out, like people at the place I worked at the time, when I was like, what did you think? That's, Batman wouldn't do this, and Batman wouldn't, have done this, and he shot, the guy with the flamethrower and stuff. And I'm just like, that there's like multiple versions in the comics where Batman has done that and worse. Like, everything that Batman did in that movie is literally based off Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. Like, that's a version of the character, and they were basing all their opinions on what they'd seen in the 3 films prior. So I know I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, but yeah, I have always wondered, I'd love to have seen how Affleck's Batman the reaction would have been had it come first.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that, this could be a whole freaking episode, but I mean, Nolan was given carte blanche on The Dark Knight because he proved himself with Batman Begins.
That's true.
Tim Burton was given carte blanche with Batman Returns because he proved himself with Batman. And then Batman Returns, also divisive. A lot of people love it, a lot of people don't love it. That's the double-edged sword of creative freedom. You give a director with a strong vision carte blanche, they're going to make what they want to make, but that also means it's going to have a very strong point of view, which has a much higher probability of turning certain people off. And that's part of the deal you make.
And when you put it that way, Snyder was given carte blanche after Man of Steel, which in its own right was a very divisive movie.
Yeah, I mean, and I was going to get there, but that's exactly it. Is like Tim Burton made Batman '89. It was this huge blockbuster. Everyone loved it. Then he was given carte blanche for Batman Returns. He did his own thing. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. Nolan made Batman Begins. Everyone loved it. He was given carte blanche on The Dark Knight. Everyone loved it. He was given carte blanche on Dark Knight Rises. Not everyone loved it. And then, but the thing is, the difference is that Snyder didn't make a universally beloved movie. Like, he made Man of Steel, which was divisive itself. And then he made BVS, which was just as divisive. And that's why I said, like, at a certain point, WBS decide we're okay with that or we're not. And they made that decision after he shot Justice League. It was way too late to make that decision.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Thank you for the very, very
very interesting.
interesting question that could lead to hours and hours of conversation, but that's a start, I guess. Let's move forward. Next one is from our old pal Philip Barker. It says, "Hey guys, Andy, Jamie, Brendan, and our Bat family, just dropping by to wish everyone a wonderful season's greetings. My question is there a story that any of you can recall where Batman reveals his favorite holiday? Do you have any idea what his favorite holiday would be? I'd love to know. Thanks for always being a gold standard of podcasting. Keep up the great work, from your old pal, Philip." Thanks, Philip. Very much appreciated. And yeah, we are officially in the holiday season, so happy holidays. I don't think anything has ever made Batman's favorite holiday canon that I can think of.
Sure as shit ain't Mother's Day or Father's Day.
Touche.
And it's not Christmas, because we know from that Justice League episode, it's like Bruce practically begged for monitor duty.
Right, that's true. I don't think he's a big holiday guy. I mean, I would say Halloween, just because
I was gonna say
he's already
like,
dressed
you'd
for it.
Almost,
yeah,
you'd almost think Halloween by default.
I mean, he did bring Solomon Grundy Thanksgiving dinner, so he appreciates Thanksgiving. But Halloween feels like I know it's the obvious choice, but it's probably the most likely one.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. We're going with that for now. All right, next message is from Brandon Cassioli. It says, "Hey, it's Brendan from Arizona. 2 questions. First, with the recent reboots of the Animaniacs and Tiny Toons, do you think we could see a reboot or continuation of Batman Beyond?" He jumped to Batman Beyond. At DC Fandom, they did a pretty good amount of Batman Beyond promotion. It seems like they're getting ready to announce something. It could be Batman Beyond for either Cartoon Network or HBO Max. What do you think? Second, I grew up with Kids WB and the new Batman Superman Adventures. There was an ad with Bruce singing Tim Drake the Jigglypuff song so he would fall asleep. This got me thinking, what would you guys think of a Batman Pokemon crossover? And then he goes on with an entire pitch for a show. Anyway, he says, "Thanks again for the shows. If you read this, I know my name is weird to say. Just call me Trek." Oh, too late, Brendan. I called you Brendan. But anyway, Trek. Yeah, I'll call you Trek too. Thanks. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Trek. Okay, so, and we already talked about the possibility of HBO Max resurrecting Batman the Animated Series. I think that's more likely than Batman Beyond, but if that were to happen and be successful, I don't think they'd be opposed to Batman Beyond.
I can answer both questions.
Oh, great.
with the one answer. Reboot of Batman Beyond and a Batman and Pokemon crossover? Christ, no. To both.
As for the Pokemon crossover, that one, you might be on your own. I'm not a Pokemon guy. I mean, like, I went and saw the movie, but to me, those are 2 things that I don't feel like blend naturally. But maybe a bigger Pokemon fan than me would know.
You could argue that we've seen it with Batman Ninja.
Yeah.
That was some weird
kinda
anime Pokemon shit at the end there with the was it monkeys? I can't remember.
There were monkeys. There were.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward. Next one's from Ian Jacobs. It says, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the Penguin casting rumors were flying, I remember you not being a fan of the Jonah Hill possibility. Knowing what we know now about the look, aesthetic, and tone of the Batman, I was wondering if your opinion on that rumor had changed. Personally, I'm thrilled with Colin Farrell, but once I saw him in the trailer, I'd be lying if I didn't think, I could totally see Jonah Hill in that role. Thanks, keep up the great work, Ian. Thank you, Ian. I will correct you a little bit. So when the Jonah Hill rumor was going around, there was rumor that he was up for Penguin or Riddler. And for Penguin, I went, okay, kind of a no-brainer, but I could see it. But for Riddler, oh, hell no. I haven't waited this long to see the Riddler in a movie for it to be Jonah Hill. So that was the one I was less excited about. Penguin, I was always like, yeah, sure, I could see that. So, now that we've seen the trailer, could I still see it? Yeah, it would. I mean, it would certainly have to dig into the dark side of Jonah Hill, but that doesn't mean he's not capable of it. What do you think, Brendan?
I honestly agree with what you just said. I really can't add to that. Yeah, I think he would have been fine as, not Riddler, Penguin. It would have been an interesting choice, but I mean, yeah, if they'd done him up the same, it would have been unrecognizable, and he's a good enough actor, so yeah, he'd have been able to pull it off.
Sure. All right, next message from Major Lee. It says, hey guys, do you remember the episode of Superman the Animated Series where Superman had to dress up like Batman and help Robin find Bruce Wayne? Thank you, Major. Nice and short and sweet. Yes, I remember it, and it is one of my favorite episodes. Oh, yeah, that's a great episode.
It's a great episode, yeah.
Totally. That's a good one. One of these days we'll get around to reviewing that because we have to. Batman.
Yes.
My favorite part was like Robin coaching Superman on how to act like Batman.
Yeah.
So,
and how he just like vibrates his vocal cords to sound like Bruce.
It's awesome. All right, next message from Gabe Nakamura. It says, hey, Holy BatCast crew, I hope you're doing well. What are your top 10 Gotham-based or Gotham-adjacent DC films? I'm talking about any theatrical release that takes place in Gotham or has lead or supporting characters from Batman's world. These are mine. Number 1, the Lego Batman movie. Number 2, Batman Begins. 3, The Dark Knight. 4, Birds of Prey. 5, Mask of the Phantasm. 6, The Dark Knight Rises. 7, Teen Titans Go to the Movies. 8, Batman Returns. 9, Batman. 10, Batman the Movie. Gabe, thanks for the question. So, like mostly Batman movies, but I guess Birds of Prey and Teen Titans count? Right? I mean, I guess Suicide Squad might count because it has Harley and Joker. I would count that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd need to think about that.
Yeah, me too, especially for 10. That's a hard one.
But I will say that like I do really like, I really enjoyed Birds of Prey, and hell, I even like Suicide Squad. I think I always thought that was a fun movie. So
yeah, me too.
For what it's worth, I'd definitely throw them in. But yeah, to do 10 of essentially the whole shebang, I'd need time to think on that one.
Yeah, and I like both of those movies too. I like Birds of Prey. I like Suicide Squad. But do I think they would nudge out any of the Batman movies? Probably not. I don't think they would. I like them, but Batman movies are Batman movies. I'm probably going to watch those first.
I mean, you could throw in the Scooby-Doo Halloween movie using that logic because Scarecrow's in it, so it's Batman adjacent.
There you go. Number 1 is Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. Number 2 is Batman Death in the Family interactive film. No, he said theatrically released. Okay. But what's interesting is that Gabe's number 1 is Lego Batman. That's interesting.
That's someone's opinion. I'm not going to argue.
All right. So sorry, we didn't really answer, but I guess I will say, I mean, my top Batman movies are probably the same, and I don't think Birds of Prey or Teen Titans or Suicide Squad would nudge any of them out. So, All right, next message. It is from Josh, the Bat Pastor. It says, "Hey, Bat family, a short note from the Bat Pastor to say thank you. The Long Halloween was a hole in my Batman collection for a long time, but you guys mentioned it so often, I knew I had to read it. I just finished reading the final book in the early hours of Halloween, how appropriate, and I'm so grateful that you led me to this series. What a great story. I'll admit it took me a few books to get used to the artwork, but I came to appreciate how it accented the detective noir tone of the story. Do you have a favorite moment from the series? For me, I really loved seeing Batman bring Grundy a Thanksgiving meal. With a grateful heart, the Bat Pastor." Thanks, the Bat Pastor. Well, funny that I just mentioned that. That is really good. Well, I would say if you just reread The Long Halloween, go back and find when we reviewed it, the Long Halloween, the Long Review. We did it as sort of an additional segment on the show for a long time, for a year. But then I did cobble them all together so that way you can listen to it all in one. But yeah, it is great. And so a favorite moment in the series, Brendan, Long Halloween.
Oh, dude, it's been that long since I've read it. I honestly can't really remember. I remember there's a really cool rooftop scene with Batman, Gordon, and Dent.
Yes, that's classic. Yep, that's a good choice.
But yeah, dude, I'd need to reread it to give a solid answer. But that's the one that jumps to mind.
That's a great choice. I love the Bat Pastor's choice, which was honestly the first thing that came to mind, is the Thanksgiving moment. I love that. But there's a moment. There's a great moment where the Scarecrow escapes from Arkham, and there's like a splash page of him on a horse, which is really badass. And then towards the end, all of the villains gather in, I don't remember if it's Wayne Manor or if it's Falcone's mansion, but they're all sitting and waiting in the office when someone enters the room, and it's like trick or treat, and they're all there. I love that moment too. All right. Next message is from Cam Stewart. It says, "Hey, what's up? I wanted to know if you had read The Three Jokers, and if you have, what do you think of the Joker officially having an origin now?" Cam, thanks for the message. Brendan, did you read Three Jokers?
I've only read the first book. I've fallen way behind on my comic reading, so
Well, you've been moving into a house.
I can't comment, and B, I don't want to have it spoiled yet. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I've read 2/3 of it. I have not read the final issue yet. So it's been on my list, and I just haven't gotten to it. So I also don't want it spoiled, but I really liked the first 2/3. I will be interested to see if they stick the landing. And I do think that's probably a big enough event book that we should review it on the show.
Yeah, I did really like the first issue. I actually, the last couple of weeks, I have been reading a lot more again, but I've been reading I told you about them, Andy, the two Halloween novels about sort of the making of and behind the scenes, a lot of the Halloween franchise. So I've been reading those two books, and once I finish the second one, which I'm still about a third of the way through, I plan to circle back and catch up on my the Batman Adventures comics series and the Three Jokers, and there was a Stranger Things series that I just started right around the time that Three Jokers came out that I've only read one issue of, so I'm keen to get back into those, but just got some other reading to do before I get to that.
Sure. Cool. All right. Next message is from our pal Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey, love the podcast as always. I recently read Batman Ego, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know how Matt Reeves intends to use it in the Batman, but I'm looking forward to it. My question is this: what Batman storyline have you not read that everyone recommends or says is a classic? Thanks, Tom Fallows." Thanks, Tom. That's an interesting question. So, Brendan, this is like your Batman blind spot. Is like something that is a classic and you've not read it. Now's the time to fess up.
Well, I've said on here before that I've never read Arkham Asylum. That I know it's usually on the list of must-read Batman books.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking with the Grant Morrison theme, I never read any of the really the stuff that happened after R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that the Dickers Batman, there were some really good stories in there that I've never. Is it Black Mirror?
Mm-hmm.
Was that one that?
Yeah, that's
Gates of
yeah.
Gotham.
Yeah, Black Mirror is a big one.
Yeah, I've never read that. They're the main ones that jump out at me anyway.
Okay. There are two that have been on my like to read pile that I just keep not reading. One is Dark Victory, which is
Oh my god, you've never.
yeah. It's been
You're such a fan of The Long Halloween.
it's been sitting on my iPad just waiting, and I just keep, and I think it's because it's long. I'm just intimidated by it, and so I don't read it.
But it's Robin. Oh my god, that really surprises me.
Yeah, I purchased it. I own it. It's ready to go. I just haven't started and actually read it yet.
If you say Haunted Night next, I'm gonna end this call.
The other one, I mean, is kind of along the same lines as Robin Year One. I've not read that either, and it's like Dark Victory, it is purchased, downloaded on my iPad, and just waiting for me to finally do it.
I haven't read that for years, but I remember when I first read it, I loved it, and the artwork I thought was really cool. It just
So
kind of had like an almost animated series feel to it.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, there you go. I mean, that's the point. We're fessing up. All right, next one is from Pastor Jasmine. It says, hey, guys, after your list of favorite actresses who played Lois Lane on the last episode, who are your top 10 actors who played Lex Luthor? All right, Pastor Jasmine.
Has there been 10?
I don't even know if there's been 10. So me and Michael kind of, we didn't do a full 10 list of Loises, but I think we at least did a top 5 each. So yeah, rank some Lex Luthors for me, Brendan.
Well, my number one, with a bullet, the last couple of years has been John Cryer.
Oh God, you're right. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, the first episode of Supergirl that he was in, I said then, I was like, that is the most comics accurate live action Lex Luthor we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He was and is phenomenal in that role. And who'd have thought 5-6 years ago, if you'd have said, Alan from 2.5 Men or Ducky, whatever he was, would be an amazing Lex Luthor, but holy shit, he's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you kind of have to say Gene Hackman, although, I mean, I know it was a different time, but his Lex is so hokey, and I know that's not going to win me any friends in saying that, but it's kind of true. Like he's not the Lex that we kind of know these days. So, look, I know the movie isn't that well liked, and I know the actors probably less liked now, but Spacey did a pretty good job. Like Spacey kind of took that Gene Hackman Lex and made him more evil and diabolical, so I did appreciate that. I actually quite like John Shea as well. In that first season of Lois and Clark, like I hated Lex Luthor in the way that you're supposed to hate Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
In Lois and Clark. So he did. Was John Shea? Yeah, John Shea.
Mm-hmm.
He did a pretty good job as well. If we're just going live action, I mean, I know obviously the animated ones you can go on a whole other tangent, but
Yeah.
I'm sort of just sticking to live action here. But
All right.
yeah, that'd be my picks.
Okay. I was going to include at least one animated. So I think my number one is Michael Rosenbaum. He was just so good as Lex. And that's funny because my number one Lois is Erica Durance. I'll be damned. They were both amazing. Yeah, I think Rosenbaum is number one. And then I was going to say Clancy Brown, number two, from Superman the Animated Series. He's awesome. Perfect.
I mean, he'd probably be number one overall, but my mind just went straight to live action.
Yeah,
So.
got it. Number three, I probably would go Gene Hackman. Yes, I get it. It's a different Lex, but he's amazing. He's so fun to watch. He's Gene Hackman. Number 4, I like John Cryer. I think that's a good choice. And then number 5, I'll just stick with 4. Because, like, Kevin Spacey was the best casting that was completely wasted in that movie. Like,
Yeah.
What an amazing casting choice that just, he was allowed to do nothing in that movie. So I can't really go with him.
They were so tied to those old movies.
Yeah, it just...
And that's what shackled that movie from the get-go. In every aspect.
Yeah. I mean, and I liked Eisenberg and what he did, but, like, it's, it's not my Lex. Like, I like it, so maybe that's number 5, Eisenberg, because at least it's interesting and different. Yeah, I guess I'd give Eisenberg the edge over Spacey, because at least he was doing something interesting. Spacey was, again, wasted.
I think if Eisenberg, if things had played out differently and we'd seen that character develop, he would have become more... I mean, just in that post-credit scene in Justice League. Now, I don't want to get shot here. I don't know if that scene was a Whedon or a Snyder.
It was apparently a Whedon, but it was awesome. Sorry.
Like, the Lex in just that 30 seconds that we saw him in Justice League was more... the comic book Lex.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, so
it's 30 seconds, and I'm like, I want more of that. It was great.
Yes. Yeah. Like if he was allowed, or who knows, if he gets the chance to come back in some way, shape, or form, and gets to develop more into the Lex that we know from the comics, I think he'd be fantastic. So I'd give him an honorable mention for sure.
Okay. All right, well, I think we're going to close the mailbox there. There are a couple left, but guess what? We're just going to have to get to them next time, because we hit the 2-hour mark, and it is time for you to go to bed, and it's time for me to eat dinner. So let's wrap this baby up. So, Brendan, good to have you back. Glad to, get back together after a few weeks apart. I missed you.
Yeah, it's been a month, so it's been really cool to... I have missed it. I've been too busy to do it, but I have genuinely missed it. So it's been nice way to end the week.
Excellent. Well, glad to have you back, and glad to help break in your new office.
Thank you.
/recording studio / everything. Tell our friends where they can find you, just in case they don't know.
You can find me on Twitter at Loey007. Same as you, I've been tweeting a lot about a certain topic at the moment.
Kind of fired up right now. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah. And look, I obviously, people who listen to this show know, I've got my show, The Nightlight, but at the moment I've kind of got my podcast on hiatus just because of life, and BatCast is kind of my focus on podcasting at the moment. So you can find them. You know where my podcast is, but it's probably going to be radio silence for a bit there. So just follow me at Loey007.
Nice, very good. And maybe, I mean, as we said, the holiday season is coming, which means they might hear your voice on the other show, Real Fans.
Yeah, I'm usually part of the Christmas special and listening to the Halloween episode of that recently, and hearing you and Michael on BatCast together and stuff. It did start get me itching a bit to get together with you guys and Scotty and talk Christmas stuff. It's something I love to do every December, or every December that schedule allows it to happen.
Yeah. So here's the question: have you already picked your Christmas special?
I had picked my Christmas special last year.
Oh.
And you know what? I don't even think I'm going out on a limb when I say this, but I'm going to trump. Oh, I hate to use that word. I'm going to best Scotty at picking the most random Christmas special.
Ooh,
this year, and I can guarantee it's one that none of you have heard of.
Well, great. I can't wait for that. Well, there you go, folks. Keep an eye on the Real Fans feed for that. That won't be till December. You got a little time. But anyway, Yes, give Brendan a follow. Thank you. I already told you where to find me, but thank you guys as always for joining and for downloading the show. Please do subscribe so you never miss an episode. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com. Find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, if you've got a message for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. So that'll do it. On behalf of Brendan, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by real fans for real movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
One bad day. Oh, kid, you have done your papa proud.
Batman? Doubt he would agree.
Not that papa. This one. Look at you. Gave up the gimmicks he gave you, and now you're the spitting image of me.
It'd be great to finally It would be great to finally see these two of. Oh my God, Jesus! I am out of practice. What the F?